Hello, everyone. Are we live? Are we out? We're
Mhm.
up and live. We're going. We're ready. I'm the Mag. How is everyone? This is my a wonderful, amazing colleague Black Box, and we are here today for the University Esports League of Legends Open Winner 2023 prize playoffs. How are we today?
Oh, awesome. Super excited to be getting back into more, of university esports. Just, it's always the best time. University esports is the best time of year. Like, sure, there's other casting to be done, but the thing I look forward to the most every single time is doing these university tournaments.
100%. And we should be jumping very shortly into a draft of Ex Machina versus Pollination Nation. Now, two very interesting teams and one that has quite a history competing in UK esports as well.
Yeah, one of them, Ex Machina, Exeter, they've been around for so long. They've, been one of those top teams for a really long time. And we've had some top teams come and go. Warwick were amazing for the longest time. They lost Port, and then unfortunately that team did kind of collapse in on itself just a little bit. But this is one of the teams that stuck around for such a long time.
And I think it's really interesting to see as well. We don't really see like any form of domination from Warwick at all throughout this entire bracket.
Mm.
Looking at just the rest of the players and the teams in the prize playoffs, it's quite impressive that there's just been a lot of interesting rising talent. Now, obviously, Ex Machina is a team we're following today alongside the Pollination Nation. And it's interesting to see there's a little bit of a rank disparity coming into this. I wonder how we'll see that come into play. However, saying this, Pollination Nation did just take down the Southampton Seraphine Stands. Great name, by the way.
Awesome
So
name.
maybe showing that rank isn't everything coming into this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we end up in university esports with quite big disparities sometimes. It's the nature of a university tournament where it's not who you're recruiting in. These are usually just whoever's happens to go to your uni, they join up, they happen to play League of Legends, you get what you get. But also, team coordination is such a big part of how you end up playing out these games. We have seen plenty of teams who, on paper, are not that strong, but the way that they play together, they're just cleaner, they have more members to every single team fight. That is how you win games of League of Legends. Rank, of course, matters. If you put 5 challengers who hate each other against 5 bronzies who play every single day, they're still gonna win. But at this level, where there's only a couple in rank disparity, it can make a lot less of a difference. And if you can play effectively together, that can really, make it work.
And I think leading on from that point as well, we want to talk about Ex Machina's experience as a team outside of university esports. They are currently in the UKL Division 2, and they are the, so far, best performing team in the entire division. There's a lot of experience together. Only one player of a slight disparity. Drippy Darren, however, is a university esports unique player. So very exciting and very excited to see how they perform. But this team is very seasoned, a lot of experience together. And it should be really interesting to see how their coordination translates over to the university scene, whether we'll see that complete domination or if, maybe that one player missing is the key core component.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah, if you've been watching University Esports for a while, then you know most of these Ex Machina players. Timatopa, specifically, has just been around for so long, played in the mid lane for this team a couple of years ago. Last year, ended up playing in the support role. Now he's going to play top for them. He's honestly going for, every single role, I guess, at this point. Whereas if you look at Pollination Nation, I don't know most of these names. I've not heard them around before. It could be that it's a bunch of freshers just getting into it and we'll end up knowing their names if they make a big splash, but they're up against some real seasoned veterans here.
Definitely heard of Sleepy Mid. Definitely seen that guy in like low masters, solo queue, and that kind of stuff. So at least one person that I somewhat recognize, kind of, traditional mage pool. And it's interesting to see, like, how we have such, like, names that stand out in the UK scene, but we've got like some rising stars coming through this tournament. It's always interesting to see how Winter checks up as well, because it's not necessarily the one where you see all of the talent. I think Spring is where you get like the real rising stars that come out of nowhere. They've got a little bit of practicing from Winter, but this is like the rise of teams that have a bit more experience together. So if it is a group of freshers, as you've said, I don't really fancy Pollination Nation's chances against a team that has had literal years of experience together.
Yeah, we can just have a quick look at the bracket right here. Nothing too surprising. We weren't sure if Pollination Nation were going to beat out the Southampton Seraphine Stands. Everything else seems to be happening pretty much as you're expecting, and we do have a lower bracket, a loser's bracket, so yeah.
We should be jumping shortly into pick and bans. I'm pretty keen to see how this goes. So one thing I want to mention straight away is Eames, which is the jungler for X Machina, notorious as some would say Evelyn one trick, very, very strong. And I imagine we'll see that banned away pretty quickly for the side of Pollination Nation. You don't want to go against it. It warps games. It warps the way you play out matches. It completely changes the play style of a match, and we will see that banned off straight away.
Straight away. I mean, if you don't want to just constantly have to think, hey, I can't see her, oh, she's behind me, then just ban the Evelyn. There's no point in playing up against one tricks. We've been seeing it in a lot of tournaments that I've been working recently, where if you let somebody's one tricks go through, it just doesn't go well for you. Get them off comfort. Even if they have other things that they can play, what's the point of giving them something that they are that dang good on? And so Evelyn will be taken off of the board. We're going to see the Udyr and the Riven as well. These are not meta bans at all. None of these are big meta champions. When you think of the meta right now, you end up with things a lot more like the Cassantes, the Aatroxes, the Renekton's. That's not what we're seeing at all. Rakan finally going to be a slightly more meta ban, but this is, you know, target bans. These players know each other, know what they like to play, have done their research, and so we might end up seeing a more standard meta composition simply because all of these pocket picks have been taken off of the board.
100%. And I think removing Riven as well, I think is very interesting. It's one of the most, you know, one tricky characters. It's a very, very comfort pick. Has slight buffs recently, although they are not really anything buffs, like maybe your 5 AD,
No.
you get, you know, like level 11, whatever, sure. Gwen, however, a lot more meta, a lot more, you know, comfortable for a lot of top laners to be picked up. And Maokai, a nice removal of something for Eames to play that is quite easy to execute, safe, lots of good setup for the team as well, and potentially a removal of a flex pick on support.
Indeed, and so we're on to those picks. There's still a lot of really high-powered junglers still available. Sejuani's, Jarvan's, yeah, the Jarvan is going to be locked in right here. That does leave the Sejuani open. You can opt into a more aggressive matchup into that, and it will be that for Pollination Nation. Gonna go with the Graves. Now, you have to get that champion going early, otherwise he gives you nothing in your later team fights and skirmishes, whereas Jarvan is going to have some level of use the whole way through. Orianna being taken away, I'd honestly say that's a good pick alongside the Graves, but also not giving Orianna Jarvan is pretty huge.
I think keeping the Syndra as well and not banning it away in rotation is interesting. Orianna and Syndra, both very strong prio picks at the moment, but taking away the Orianna, choosing to forego giving that away, you have to really take the Jarvan or the Orianna on, you know, your 1 or 2 here. I think Graves is an interesting choice, and as you said, it's very feast or famine in the way it plays. I don't necessarily think it's incredible. I understand why people pick it, and people do pick it a lot for a champion that feels a little underwhelming at the moment.
Yeah, she's fine. There's nothing wrong with Syndra, and you have a decent matchup into the Orianna, which is why you're picking this one up. But yeah, it's not going to be quite as explosive. You'd prefer something like the Azir into this matchup a lot of the time, but if you don't play it, there's no point. Aatrox is a premier top laner right now. He's super strong, can get his own leads, works really well alongside of Jarvan during those early ganks, gives Jarvan somebody to gank onto. I mean, if you're not ganking as Jarvan 2 or 3 times during the early laning phase, you're not playing the champion correctly, so I really like this pairing. It gives you a good lane to be able to play into. Looks like Pollination Nation want to go towards this AD carry for the moment. Caitlyn is pretty strong right now, and it will be the lock-in. Now, not picking the Caitlyn alongside the support already is interesting. You can pair it up with a lot of long-range poke champions. The Lux has actually been getting a lot of priority recently.
I wonder if we'll see that banned away. It's interesting they choose to remove the Ashe as well, Pollination Nation, rather than taking it for themselves. You do see Ashe Varus as quite a nice combo to counter the Kate Lux I've seen. I don't necessarily prio Caitlyn that much, although I understand why it's picked up, and I think it's especially good in tournaments like this where there is a little bit less coordination than something at the highest level of play. But Caitlyn can function. I think it's an interesting to pick over other options at the moment. I think that Jinx is okay at the moment with something like, you know, your Millie, your classic. Ashe is definitely the strongest ADC right now, in my opinion. If we see the Camille pick up here, it's playable into Aatrox, you know, something to actually like match that pressure.
Risky, though. That's
it's a confidence pick for sure. Yeah. I definitely agree, and I think Aatrox, especially at the moment, very good, feels good. I mean, if any of you have been watching Worlds, you'll understand why this Aatrox has some real pop-off moments. But Camille, interesting pick, and I wonder how this is going to be used. Maybe as like targeted removal for the Syndra or like enemy ADC. It's interesting, but if it gets behind, it's going to be pretty bad as well. You've got a lot of characters on the side of Pollination Nation that feel like that.
Yeah, if Pollination Nation fall behind early, you're in a really terrible position, and Graves doesn't have that much gank setup for himself, so it's good that these lanes are getting some level of gank setup. Mid, though, you're not really going to be able to look. Varus can farm from pretty far back, so you have to be careful that you're not running out of lanes to potentially influence. You can go top lane, sure, but, you know, as Ex Machina, you should know that that's where that's likely to be going. Varus being picked up right here can often work well with things like the Lulu and the Milio, but if you want to get more aggressive, you can go for something like the Rel will be locked in. This teamfight composition out of Ex Machina could be huge.
So it's really interesting as well. We've look at the bans we take away: the Senna, the Ashe, the Lux, and I thought we'd opt for another roaming support. I suppose we have opted for another roaming support here on the side of Pollination Nation. The Janna, especially with the recent buffs as well, will actually be able to function quite well into this poke lane. It's really good disengage into Rel. It's actually quite difficult. There are some people that argue that Janna does nothing, and it kind of does. It's one of those picks where it feels like it does nothing, but it should have some effective early roaming. Although, granted, the mid lane, there isn't going to be too much happening. Both mid laners should play fairly safe. There are, like, both, strong high-level players, and Orianna and Syndra are pretty safe in terms of just being able to sit back and farm. This game might be kind of boring, to be honest. And there might be a little bit of action in the top lane, but to be honest, bot lane, mid, I don't see too much crazy stuff happening.
It shouldn't, but that's the thing. Expectations are very often in University Esports just completely dashed. Rel has the ability to go in. I would agree that once we hit level 6, that's where a bit more interest could be coming into this lane. Until that point, you're not expecting to be getting too aggressive. Caitlyn, Janna, they can sit quite far back, farm from underneath their tower if needs be. But that doesn't really benefit Pollination Nation because you need your Graves to be able to get ahead. So if you're just conceding bot lane, don't really have any gank set up in the mid lane, do you just damage check onto the Syndra? You've got to be really careful to not get caught by that scatter of the weak. If you do, you're just going to be pushed away. Nothing's really going to happen, and so you end up in a situation where you're just having to look top, try to get your Camille ahead. If it works, awesome, but Ex Machina should know that this is happening. Eve should know that he's going to need to go towards that top lane and help out his go towards that top lane and help out his top laner. And if you mess up any of these ganks, if you go for an over-aggressive dive perhaps, or even just end up in a straight 2v2, Jarvan Aatrox played well, should be able to beat out a Graves and Camille.
So you're actually correct on this, and I completely agree. And it's why the Janna lock is so interesting to me. When that Thresh was hovered, I definitely understood the vision, right? It's for the early lanes, it's like an anti-rel engage. It provides some safety for that Caitlyn. Obviously, Varus and Kate will be both playing at quite far range. But even then, it still has roaming potential. It has catch potential. You can't necessarily play as safe into it as you can with something that's a heavy, strong engage because it is inherently a hook champion, good catcher. But taking the Janna, it feels like, as you said, they're giving up a lot of early pressure. And for something like Graves with so little gank setup and with lanes as safe as this, are you going to send your Janna all the way to top lane to go help Graves with a gank? Probably not. It's an odd choice. It could, to be fair. You're level 3 and you're out of lane, it's not out the realms of possibility, but it's an interesting one for sure.
It is. You're in a situation where, Caitlyn can sit by herself and farm underneath the turret. It is risky. Once you have that level 6 onto the Varus, onto the Rel, you can do it. She's long enough range. She's got that net to be able to get herself out of dodge if things get a little bit iffy. But Janna roaming around that far doesn't feel great either. And you end up in a situation where your bot side doesn't necessarily have the just straight 2v2 power for you to have any control around this Drake pit. And Drakes are so important in the current meta. It looks like they're going to get even more important as of this next patch that we've got for preseason. But still, as of right now, they are really strong. And if you don't have bot lane prio and your mid lane is in a little bit of just a stalemate, even enough matchup, then you have no real way to get involved in these actual Drakes. And you don't really want to fall behind in Drakes. The scaling should be on Ex Machina's side, so if they're able to get to that point nice and easily. That being said, we've been pretty negative, I'd say, about Pollination Nation's draft. I see the dream though, because there's a situation where these early Graves ganks work, where this Caitlyn and Janny get through the laning phase and the Caitlyn just starts doming people, and where you hit a massive Orianna shockwave. I see the dream, I could see this working, and if they're able to pull it off, that would be an incredibly impressive victory out of Pollination Nation.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I always like seeing teams, take like a gambit as well, really take like a risk with these picks. And I'd say Graves Camille definitely feels like one here. It's not got a ton of early prio as well for taking Rift Herald if we are, as Pollination Nation, giving away our Drake space and our Drake control to trade like an early Rift Herald to get some gold in the pocket. But saying that, if it can happen, it should be a good catch up if they're a little bit behind early. It should, give a little bit more breathing room for mid laner as well. And there is an interesting dynamic here to be seen in this jungle. And yeah, again, I don't want to be negative. No, it's not exciting. I think we'll be coming back to the action after a short break, just waiting on spec delay. Make sure you stay tuned for the first game of this series. We will be here.
Making me fall hard. Trying to take a deep breath, but I just can't control my lungs. Ooh. Trying to hide my cold sweat, but I just keep on talking in tongues. It's a funny situation that I got myself into. Help my own frustration, 'cause I think I like it. I think I like it. Got nothing to lose, 'cause I think I like it. Tell me if you like me too. How can you move the way you do? It's making me crazy. Just like you own the room, make it look easy. I wanna take you away to somewhere we can be by ourselves. I see you looking my way, so maybe it's not all in my head. It's a funny situation that I got myself into. I can help my own frustration, 'cause I think I like it. I think I like it. Got nothing to lose, 'cause I think I like it. Tell me if you like me too. You must think that I'm a restless case because I ran away, because I ran away. If you listen to the words I say, you know that I'm okay, you know it's just a phase. Don't think I'm leaving 'cause I'm not at all, and if you get hurt it's unintentional. I just wanted you to realize that I'm the one you like, that I'm the one you like. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do you. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Tell me what can I do now? Tell me what can I do now? Tell me what can I do now? Tell me what can I do now?
Count us in, yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
All good, we're ready. How are we, everyone? We are back with the University Esports League of Legends Winter 2023 prize playoffs. Ex Machina versus Pollination Nation. I am the Mac. I am with Black Bloxer, and I'm very excited.
Oh, me too. Let's get into this. University Esports, once again, it's that time of the year. It's the better bit of the year. You know, Christmas later on, nah, that's not what's important. This is what's important, as we are going to get a little bit of a... Just checking out where Diggy Style is going to be starting up. It looks like both want to be starting onto the top side of the map. I would be surprised by that, to be honest. Leaving the top laners to do their own thing rather than pathing towards them when this could be a really volatile and impactful lane.
It's kind of crazy they got a real T1 import on the side of Ex Machina, by the way. That's pretty tough. I wonder what strings they pulled to get that one.
Yeah. I'd see Timatopa on T1. I could see it.
I could see it too. Yeah, for sure. But you know, we'll see if he actually, you know, matches up to all the talk we've been giving him, because right now we've been playing a little bit favorites for the side of Ex Machina, and I think Pollination Nation has something to prove here. And I'm sure they will, although lurking in the shadows, we see Drippy Darren just miss that crash down. A little bit of poking, Mango Pango able to kite that out nicely. And overall, a really good damage trade for the side of Pollination Nation. Bit of a blunder for Ex Machina, missing the initial Rel W. Does not feel great. And in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to have a huge impact on the lane. Started with longsword, so you're playing for sustain anyways, but not great.
Yeah, not ideal. You could get a lot more damage right there, possibly blow some the spell as well out of Mango Pango. That's what you're really looking for in that situation. But yeah, like you said, not the end of the world. Nothing gained, nothing lost. Both of the junglers did indeed decide to start towards the bottom side of the map. And so it's going to be a race up to the top side. Wards kind of all over, although the vision is definitely in favor of Pollination. Yeah, vision in favor of Pollination, so they're going to be well aware of what's happening. Both teams should be, to be honest. Top laner's going to be duking out for the minute, and then they could possibly end up with some junglers in their lanes. This is what I was expecting. Junglers, get up into this top lane, see if you can get something going, especially for Deggy style. Without that setup CC for himself, you have a lot that you can work with a Camille, and just the raw damage of that combo can definitely burst out something even as tanky as an Aatrox.
Oh, kind of the Infernal Chain's kind of playing against Timatopa there. Would have had a nice slam down, reading the hook shot pretty nicely. But as we see, that vision we were talking about earlier going to catch out Eames on this step forward to this Camille. Marco playing it nice and safe, having to sacrifice some minion XP, just having to stay out of that range, will not be able to grab it, I think. Being very polite and cautious. That ward is down. They have no idea where this jungler is now, but at least bot lane know where to play for. There's feeling a little bit more safe, but should know that there is something being matched here from the side of Pollination, as Deggy Style has not shown anywhere yet, just doing a classic full clear, both playing towards the top side, as we discussed in draft.
And it does look like Jarvan going to be able to get towards this Scuttle Crab just a little bit quicker, although we might still end up watching these two duke it out. Actually, no, it is going to be Deggy
He's not taking his blue.
It's trying. He smote it. He smote
that has been smitten. Yeah.
Won't have that for the potential Scuttle Crab fight. Instead, it looks like Deggy Style's just going to be given that one. And we're going to watch Jarvan wander away, go pick up that bot lane. Mid lane is not too much happening, and this early game has been pretty calm. It would be worth noting, actually, that Sleepy Mid has got a decent little CS lead. You know, it's not huge, it's nothing gigantic. Should be able to get it back, should Eden, but oh, this is sneaky.
So obviously sat on that ward. Oh, ends up actually poking him by hitting that ward. The bullets fly past, and we'll actually get a little bit poked down with that red buff. I was about to say, I think it's interesting that Ex Machina has no reason to play any like flipping fights. They don't want to give any advantages to the side of Pollination that don't need to be given. They can kind of just safely scale a little bit. They don't, but that's I think why we saw the initial relinquishing of the Scuttle Crab on the top side, and nice movement there from Drippy Darren to cover his jungler to be able to even things out a little bit. And it's a more important one as well, because it is coming up for that Drake, which should be spawning in a couple of seconds.
And Drake going to be spawning right now, and you know, you don't really want to be going for that too early on as a Graves usually. Not got the fastest by yourself Drake take. Would need some extra support around. The river is lit up like a Christmas tree right now for Ex Machina. You know, you're not going to be able to walk through this one as Deggy style. Going to get pulled back there, Marco. Marco is constantly living in this lane at half health, and that's just going to feel pretty bad. The Camille going to come into its own once you get first item down under the belt. Hey, you talked about the potential Janna roams.
It's happening. Janna goes crazy.
Yeah, all the way up.
Not sure how much value it's actually finding here.
Negative.
Caught out on that ward. I wonder if it was actually, it might have been like better value, again, just on that thresh. It might have felt a teeny bit better. But again, not going to be able to provide a ton. Marco should not have enough like raw damage follow-up to actually match a full health Aatrox with ult here. And it's one of the issues that I kind of envisioned happening with this Camille pick. It's risky for sure. And Aatrox can kind of, gradually poke him down, but there is opportunities for outplay, and we should see it now. The World Ender is popped, followed by the Hextech ultimatum is locked in that cage while Deggy makes his way over. Should see that smoke screen come down, and there should be an execution coming through. No ultimate on the side of the Graves yet to finish off that Aatrox, having to burn the flash with Timotopia there. And the ultimate, but will live and still has a nice advantage to play with, along with the TP.
Yeah, got that TP available. Not going to be the end of the world. Still, you're going to be relatively happy with that as Marco and Degistar. You managed to pick yourself up that flash. That is a potential regank situation. That ward that was set in the bush got a lot of value, actually spotting out 2 different roams, and we predicted it. We said that the top lane was likely to be incredibly explosive, and we've seen that. It's reflected in the players, the way that they've been looking to make plays up in the top lane and just really get involved in this lane. Mid lane has just been a little bit of a farm fest. Same with bot lane. The only interesting point about bot lane that I really have right now is that, a little bit of poke, is that Mango Pango actually was pushing up in the lane when Neros was roaming around. Usually, when you end up in a 2v1, you have to get pushed back onto your tower. You just concede a little bit of XP and CS potentially, a little bit of lane pressure, just to allow your support the time to roam. But no, instead Mango Pango was pushing up, perfectly confident and happy to do so, and I really like that confidence, and it does allow this Janna to roam around with a little bit more freedom, as we might have a Scuttle Crab skirmish here.
We'll have to just get rid of this fish and giving a little bit of priority. Orianna can step here, but even definitely still aware. Sleepy Mid will get caught by the Scat of the Week. Not going to be able to get found by that Jarvan. Ends up burning the flash. There is a first blood in the bot lane whilst all of this is happening. I'm going to need to see. I don't think we have replays, unfortunately, but I would have loved to see how that happened. I assume a really nice catch from the Rel there. Flash also burnt for the Janna, so will not be available in the future. No ultimate, so no immediate Monsoon disengage. Mango Pango is low, probably won't be able to step and help. As soon as they get the scuttle, I imagine they could maybe look for a Drake take. Choosing not to. Last down with the Ghost, half HP. Not in an ideal spot, we'll just reset. But so much happening there. The Orianna burn, and yet, there was no need.
No kills.
Crazy. So we are going to see a slight advantage towards X Marken here. Timotopia actually trading and getting nice amount of health off of Marco here, even at that health disadvantage. One of the things with Aatrox is quite funny that you can do, and one of the strengths, especially into a lane like this.
And the first blood going to Drippy Darren is not ideal. You don't usually want to give your rel over that first 400 gold, but at the same time, having that completed tier 2 boots and a ruby crystal just to be that little bit tankier can be huge for a rel. She loves to roam around, get involved in big team fights, be that initial engage, and that extra mobility and tankiness is huge for that. It's going to get a little chunk of damage done to them right now, not got a lot of magic resist. They're going to spot, no, not quite going to spot out the fact that Degistar is taking himself this Drake. There's no real response. Instead, Hidzol has gone up towards the top side, just going to pick himself up those top lane camps, and could potentially look to go in towards that Rift Herald. If you do take that Rift Herald, I can see it going into the top lane to just continue keeping that Timotopia advantage going. That's manifesting itself in a little bit of a CS lead, but more than anything, just in lane pressure.
So, as well, it's nice to see Degistar actually take away this Drake so they can get some nice early stacking. Now, interesting that they relinquished the Herald control, so I assume this is probably because they just have no top lane prior, right? Can't really play for it. But it's something that I would have really liked to see as an objective here for something like the Camille, for the Graves especially. Getting some gold in the pocket would be nice, and try and upset things a little bit mid lane, give Sleepy Mid the advantage that they need, because right now it's a very dry mid experience for both of these mages. So it's, kind of a shame. I personally would have traded away that Drake and given that to the side of X Market and looked for that Herald instead. But again, Drake stacking beginning, it is something to play for later on. So it's not, it's actually still good. And wow, nice hold here for the Orianna, forcing Eden to have to stay in lane. No sneaky resets there.
And nothing really there. Nothing available so far for either of these mid laners. All these bot lanes, particularly, and junglers sat at 0-0-0. I think that's not ideal for either of them. Jarvan, I want to see ganking constantly, and we have done. Possibly going to get another one into the mid lane right now. And instead, just going to head back to base. Graves too, though, you want to be getting ahead at this point in the game. We're now 11 minutes in, and there hasn't really been any massive advantages gained. Ex-Machina are up by about 2,000 gold. Well, maybe 1.5 closer to, but still, it's a decent chunk of gold up. But most of that is just picking up the first blood and a couple of little CS leads. Yeah, if we look at the individual lane gold, there's a chunk down in the bot lane. That's where we're really looking at the main advantage, a bit in the mid lane, and then everywhere else feeling pretty even.
Yeah, we have, like, again, little bit in the top, but at the same side, it's just... This might be the slowest game of University Esports League of Legends I have ever watched, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's a good show of skill expression, restraint. Both of these teams very patient with each other, and things should get very explosive very quickly when someone wants to pull the trigger. We see people lurking around mid lane. This Jarvan wants to get this Herald down, give Eden those advantages. As we were saying, I would have preferred to see on the Orianna for the side of Pollination. And once they, I mean, obviously they have no vision on the... Oh,
hang on.
Interesting scat of the week there. We are going to see the Command Shockwave taken down. Really nice flag drag Cataclysm. And this should guarantee a couple of plays in the pocket of this Syndra now. If they choose to slam down the Herald, won't do that, obviously, because 5-plate Herald, a bit silly. But yeah, really nice execution there. Caught me off guard as well.
Yeah, I could see that Eden was looking for it, but I did not expect the flash scat of the week to come through into that lovely flag and drag Cataclysm, pick up that kill. Sleepy mid just getting put in the dirt right there, and that's a CS lead that wasn't too big, still going to be relatively close, but you're just putting yourself in a great advantage. Eden gets to teleport back to lane right now, where Sleepy mid has just respawned and is booking it back to lane. He's going to miss out on a couple of minions to the turret right now. Just feels bad, and in this Orianna Syndra matchup, it's pretty skill expressive. It's relatively close. These champions, you know, have different roles, but still you're looking to deliver a lot of damage for your team. Getting put behind, those shockwaves will always be terrifying, but if you don't have the ability to 100 to 0 one of the squishies, you lose a lot of that priority that Oriannas can have.
And still sat on that flash as well. Sleepy mid needs to wake up a little bit next time. Could have been a bit more reactive there. With that play, although again, as you said, did not expect the flash, and I definitely didn't either. We are going to see a little skirmish coming through in the jungle. The flag and drag immediately getting onto that Graves, half HP. Orianna has walk priority, but Eden is lurking around. I think both junglers are aware that they will both give their lives if they continue this fight. However, very much Syndra sided. We are going to see the Rel walk towards this fight. I fancy its impact a little bit more than the Janna. Hex flashes into the bush, almost catches this Graves. Really nice monsoon away, keeping them nice and safe. We are going to see this guy that we just catch the not quite executing the Janna, and it's a sliver of HP she walks away with. The shockwave not being quite enough to keep them safe, and we are going to see Herald pop down. Should guarantee another plate in the pocket, and I assume that would be because the Herald is wearing out rather than keeping it. And Drake is coming up soon, and now they have some nice vision pro.
Yeah, great vision priority, although there is still plenty right here still. You know, it's not like Plantation Nation don't have any around this Drake pit, but more of it getting cleared out. And that was just a really nice play. This Luden's echoed up Syndra is just so strong at this point. Was nearly able to get 2 kills, but also this Jarvan, dang, just the Gore Drinker and a little bit of armor, and able to just more than half health out Daggy style. Really impressive play, well executed. Drippy Darren just going to be spotted out right here, chuck down the control wall to walk it out. Easthold is here, going to be looking to get aggressive. They really want to get onto this Drake. Oh, CP mid, you're a bit in trouble.
Has the flash, ends up flashing away from the Ralph. Instant TP coming through from Marco. The Camille will be able to get directly onto Eden. This will be a mid for a mid hit shot down going over to the Camille. Jarvan on the edge of being taken down. Another TP follows up. Marco is deep and is looking to finish this off. Both junglers on a sliver of health. It's a mirror match right now. We are going to see both top lanes also just whacking away each other. It's like I'm watching like a mirror image here. It's like the same team fight, but back and forth. No, we're not going to see any disparity in who kills whom. However, both ADCs kind of just lurking around like, yeah, you guys can have your fun in the mid. We're just going to focus on farming. There was a thought of walking up there from Mango Pango, ends up cancelling it when they see the team fight is not continuing. Nice little reset for last before they can look for a Drake fight. Hopefully, actually is starting it already now that Eames is back from this reset, and they are none the wiser. No vision on this, and Deggy style probably won't check it until it's far too late. There we go, another dragon taken away on the map to the side of Ex Machina this time, and the Drake stacking value is gone. However, Inferno Drake, very, very nice here. We are going to want to see some high damage. This is really good for the Graves as well, to be able to stack up 3 of those will feel really, really good.
It would give a lot of power over to Daily Style. Like, it was just item advantages. To be fair, though, in that situation, Pollination Nation actually managed to roam Marco down first into that team fight, and it could have been a lot worse. If at that point, Pollination Nation weren't down by about 3 and a bit thousand gold, that could have been a much different team fight. You know, the wallet diff was not huge at this point, but enough to be able to keep that one even, turn it into a 1-for-1. It's going to be straight onto this Herald as well, going to be taken out for Ex Machina. They can put this one into the top lane, perhaps, if they want to get a chunk out of that one, or mid lane just would immediately kill it. I don't think that's really going to be where they're looking to put down this Herald, but it's on the board, so he can pick where he wants to put this one down. And so as we transition out of that early laning phase into the potential mid game we've got right here, we'll see which explosive plays are going to be happening. Gank onto the top lane.
We are going to see Hextech Ultimatum keeping this Aatrox trapped. Is a 2v1, and World Ender is available. Will miss that sweet spot trying to read that dash back. I imagine Timotopia won't be able to make their way out of this one. However, Eames has shown up the Cataclysm, keeping this Camille locked in. Will keep them locked in that damage, and look at that regen here. We are going to see the Aatrox E-Passive coming into clutch there. And in the meanwhile, Last has been able to catch out Nezareth here with a nice ult. The Chains of Corruption finding their mark, and they will be able to CC chain her and take her out. Rift Herald popped in the top lane. First turret down for the side of Ex Machina, and they are now canyoning their lead a little bit. 5k gold on their side, and Herald hasn't even done her first charge yet.
Mid lane is going to turn into a gank right here. This Orianna stepping a little bit out of position, does not have any flash. We'll see if we can get a view of this one. Sleepy mid, yeah, just going to be taken out. Eden going to pick up that kill. That will also turn into that mid lane tier 1 turret. Top lane tier 2 got taken down as well. And this one has been pretty explosive. Speaking of, Timotopia needs to turn tail and run right now.
And the action does not stop here. I imagine they'll be caught. No World Ender to save. No bailout here, unfortunately. Even with the Janna walking up as well. We'll get the third charge. We'll get a second charge down onto this last inhibitor turret. And in the meantime, mid-tier 1 gone. And honestly, it feels like Exeter have just been able to find constant advantage. A nice CC chain here, and Mango is deleted off the map. And this should be all tier 1s now gone, taken by Ex Machina.
You can see that reflected in the gold lead. It's ballooned. It was sitting at about 2,000, then 3,000, and at this point, it's just a gigantic lead, about 7,000, 8,000 gold right now in the favor of Ex Machina. And we know that this team are good. They've been to many, many university esports tournaments across their time, placed very highly in them as well. And it's a team of potential newcomers out of Pollination Nation a lot that we haven't heard of before. Still though, they've been putting up enough of a fight, a couple of shutdown kills, and you could get yourself back into this one, but I need to see Pollination Nation show some good team fighting more than anything. Manchester so far have been losing out in these skirmishes, but their comp can work in a big wombo combo. You're really relying on that shockwave out of the Orianna. Can Sleepy Mid hit a big shockwave onto multiple members? In that case, you have plenty of follow-up damage with that Graves, Camille, and of course the Caitlyn.
We spoke about how even that initial team fight was earlier when there was a slight lead for the side of Ex Machina. And again, it felt like it was almost watching a mirror match. The same amount of damage was getting traded to either side, even though Exeter had that gold advantage. But now, with such a grand lead, I wonder, even if a team fight breaks out, will Pollination Nation actually be able to find an advantage off of it? It's a really, really hard match to play. And I don't envy being in their position right now. Oh, I'm missing the cannon's got to feel terrible there. Sorry to call you out on broadcast about that one, but that was it for everyone to see. Continuing to look towards the top side here, we are going to see Degisal set up a gank here with Marco. Will dodge that third instant pop here of the World Ender, and I think it might be the end of Timotop. I don't see a way out of this one. Another kill goes onto this Camille, and we spoke about how it was risky earlier, but it seems like Marco is the player to play for on the side of Pollination Nation, and they will delete these key targets. Eden will be obliterated. Last will be obliterated in these team fights. The access is available. The potential to turn it is there, and the gold is now beginning to get into his pocket.
That was a good catch, I'd say, out of Pollination Nation up onto that top lane, getting Timotopia killed. However, he's pushing up too far, and the rest of the team isn't doing anything on the backside. You know, it's not like there's a toss-up between getting that kill and losing a Drake, perhaps. The Drake is happening at this point, there's no response. Or losing a couple of turrets. There was nothing really happening, couple resets. Timotopia was just pushing up too far past his line, getting overly aggressive, and ended up paying for it.
Speaking of, Timotopia might die once again. The entire team decides to take it out, has to burn the flash here. This team is not done hunting. Yomu's popped, Mango Pango ends up picking that kill. Gold spread a bit more around the team now, but is it worth it? I mean, you've traded your second Drake here when you could have actually moved your team towards it. As you said, X Marketer wasn't really doing anything with Timotopia being pushed so far forward. The team could have easily mobilized and moved, but instead choosing to kill on repeat is an interesting decision. I'm not sure it's going to give them the results they want.
Well, possibly, considering it is a Deathblade, a Duskblade build for this Aatrox. It's the really aggressive build. You don't get as much of the healing as you get out of that Gore Drinker build. You don't get as much tanky stats either, and so repeated ganks onto this top lane, just trying to take him out. It relieves a lot of the pressure that a side lane split pushing Aatrox can leave, and also allows you 30-40 seconds where you could look for potential team fights and skirmishes, where you don't have to worry about an Aatrox flanking around and wreaking havoc in your backline. It's a strategy that I can understand why Manchester are going for. When you're this far behind, straight up 5v5s are no longer straight up. You are in a situation where you're behind in gold. Your item differences can make all the difference whether or not you play the team fight well. So just going for that gank, getting the kill that you know you can, and keeping yourself in a 4v5 is an effective strategy for at least stalling out a game. They just need to win out on these team fights to be able to get themselves into a position to lead.
Speaking of team fights, we see both teams eager and looking around here. I saw Last hovering a little bit on the decision whether to go and match Marco in the side lane, instead moving towards the team trying to keep them up and play around them as they start this Baron take. Now, it's interesting, the Camille TP is available and will be popped along with the Syndra TP. Not in an ideal spot though. Maybe could catch the Syndra, move in, stuck in this Baron pit. Timotopia moving in will end up getting that ADC flash instantly. A nice follow-up from Dorel, the Magnet Storm, and there is a massive wombo there with the Cataclysm. Everyone on the side of Pollination Nation is split. However, Marco manages to find this Syndra, but they cannot do everything for their team. Will have to run for their life. Ends up being caught by Last. That is a double kill and should be a free Baron for the side of X Marketer. Not an ideal team fight, and a couple of really nice catches there.
Yeah, you can see the idea right there, especially behind X Machina. They want to get aggressive, bait in everybody from Manchester, and then just leave. Don't have to get the team fight, we get the 2 teleports out, perfect. But then, like you said, it was not a particularly good placement of the teleport out of Eden, and so you had to turn back, try to help out, make sure that you don't end up losing that mid laner, and then you have to find the fight. Luckily, you're ahead in gold. Some really good plays right now from Last. We know that Last is one of the better players in this tournament, has been year on year on year, showing that for us right now. And with that 3-item completed Varus, it's only going to get harder and harder to play into him. The next Drake spawning in 2 minutes time, but that is a Baron buff right now on top of Ex Machina. What can they do with it though? Because you've got no outer turrets left in the top lane, and only a couple of inners in the mid and bottom.
So it's interesting as well. So you ask about what they can do with the Baron. If anything, it could just be like a Baron deny, just removing the ability to come back here. There's no power play available for the side of Pollination. And as you said, there's no major objectives coming up. We are going to see Camille just splitting away so that the only inhibitor turret is completely inaccessible. I wonder if they'll try and siege the tier 2s around the map. However, it kind of just seems like X Marketer are happy to play time, happy to kind of just keep their lead, play for catches, and make sure that they're denying as much vision and resources in the jungle for this Graves as possible. This Graves does not feel that useful at all this game, and we did say we'd have this problem in draft and champs.
Hang on.
What a read, and they just instantly Cataclysm on top of Sleepy Mid. What do? You're a flashless Orianna, and you're also dead. Very, very unfortunate, and it's kind of crazy that you just do that. You just know, you're just kind of like aware.
Yeah, the map reads right now out of X Machina have been really impressive as they push on up using some of the last little bits of this Baron buff to see what you can get. It's going to be a Drake in 30 seconds time. The Drake pit is completely in the control. Oh, don't do that. That would be so aggressive.
This is mean.
There's no minion wave.
It's bullying. I mean, the Jan is there for the disengage. Monsoon is available, but no summoners for Mango Pango. So there is an angle, and the Hex Flash will go wide. Not great. But in the meantime, by the way, whilst all of this is happening, no one's contesting last in mid. Ends up getting that tower. Will look for that in him. Has to walk towards the team. Actually, not even that scared of Deggy. Will just pop the Chains of Corruption. Looking to kill. Flashes the Q. Sleepy Mid really wants last dead. That is a shutdown, but it's not going to matter. Straight into the loving arms of X Machina. Timotopper popping the World Ender. Looking for a couple more kills. Will not find. Whilst Marco has been splitting on side.
Okay.
To help their team. Really nice scatter reach catch. Ends up moving out of the Cataclysm. Walking away on 2 HP. But the bot lane for Pollination is dead. Deggy style 1 HP. Marco, I doubt you'll be able to 1v4 this fight. It's not looking great. And I think X Machina could try and end here.
You still have Deggy Star and Marco. That is plenty of damage between them, especially underneath these Nexus turrets, but they're just melting.
And not with a catch like that. Really nice catch once again from Eden. And we see just, there's so much CC. Marco cannot really play around this as well. And it's just sacrificing their life there, Drippy Darren. Rest in peace. And a very a quick turn for game one from such a calm early start to a very explosive finish. And this is just cyberbullying now.
Yeah.
Just end the game. Oh.
Hitting onto it, Mango Pango does do a decent amount of damage still, though. Nexus is going to fall. That'll be X Machina going up 1-0 in this best of 3 series.
And I think that's another important thing to mention. It is best of 3. We've been kind of gassing up X Machina quite a bit here, but this game was kind of even at one point where both teams were showing a lot of restraint. Now, I think there is things that Pollination has probably learned from this initial match that they can take into these next games. So there's definitely not, you know, a big disadvantage for them coming into this next series. So we will be back with game 2 after a short break. Make sure you're around. I'm excited to see how this team adapts. Stay tuned.
I don't wanna fall for you, oh no. But you make it so hard. Watching you dance all night, baby, is making me fall hard. Trying to take a deep breath, but I just can't control my lungs. Ooh. Trying to hide my cold sweat, but I just keep on talking in tongues. It's a funny situation that I got myself into. I can't help my own frustration. 'Cause I think, yeah, I think I like it. I think I like it. Got nothing to lose. 'Cause I think I like you. Tell me if you like me too. How can you move the way you do? It's making me crazy, yeah. You're moving just like you own the room. Make it look easy. I wanna take you away to somewhere we can be by ourselves. I see you looking my way, so maybe it's not all in my head. It's a funny situation that I got myself into. I can't help my own frustration. 'Cause I think, yeah, I think I like it. I think I like it. Got nothing to lose. 'Cause I think I like you. Tell me if you like me too.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the University Esports League of Legends Winter 2023 prize playoffs. And we should be back with a game 2 after a very interesting set of games. Single game. It was game singular, not games plural. Now it's games plural.
Now it's games plural.
Now
We're
it's
getting
games
those
plural.
in a second. Yeah, it was a really, really slow start to the game. I mean, there was one kill that a rel got in the bot lane, chilling, and then all of a sudden, it felt like Ex Machina decided, right, we've got our first items, kill, and they just did. From the point in which Ex Machina decided to switch it on, it was not much longer that we were in that game. On to game 2 now, and I'll be interested to see what the adaptation is going to be. We've now seen that the Jarvan was a perfectly happy first pick for Ex Machina. I don't see Pollination Nation giving that one over taking it for themselves on that first pick, or you can ban it out during the early rounds, but it didn't feel like any one lane particularly was the problem, as much as all of them were.
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting that Pollination has obviously blue side as well. I feel like it's really strong this patch. So there's some really strong prio picks. I think your Jarvan, your Orianna, if you think you're really good, if you want to ban away the Jarvan as well. Orianna feels very, very strong on R1. If you don't want to take that Jarvan. Although I imagine just ease of execution, and I wasn't impressed with the Graves last game.
No.
I whack my jungler on Jarvan. I say, go gank. I'm not playing for my jungler the next game. I think 100% play for mid. I think that guy was actually keeping up, actually doing okay. Same with Marco as well. Marco, good performance on the Camille. It's a real shame that by the time he got going, the game was kind of over. There'd been too much momentum taken back in the favor of Ex Machina. And I don't know. I think it's a tough one. I think blue side gives him a bit more of an advantage in Giraffe, though.
It usually does, but if you've got effective counter picks, that can be pretty huge. I mean, what was the counter pick in the last one? I can't quite... I don't think it was massive.
Counter pick for what exactly? Sorry.
What was it that Pollination Nation counter picked? Who did they last pick?
They last picked Janna. Wait, on
Janna.
rotation 1 or rotation 2?
Rotation 2, they last picked Janna, you are
Janna,
right.
yeah, because we said we wanted Thresh instead.
Yeah. Something else I would prefer rather than that.
Janna. I just don't think the
Janna was fine.
champions.
I liked some
Great.
of the roams. It was just good vision. It looks like we are going to start up this one.
It should be the usual suspects.
Yeah, it's going to be some of those high-powered picks that these guys really like to play for themselves. What was the Rakan, the Evelyn, the Udyr? See if there's going to be anything that's
Leave the Riven
up.
open. I want to see a Riven player play Riven. Let's go.
That would be fun. Gwen,
that would be
taking
cool.
Off the board, Pollination Nation. One more opportunity. They're going to get rid of the Maokai. So Ex Machina, they are no real onus on them to actually change anything up right now. They can, keep things pretty standard as far as what they've been doing. So, Pollination Nation, do you first pick yourself the Jarvan or potentially just let that one go through? Jarvan's got mainly good matchups. There's not really anything that I look at with the Jarvan at the moment and go, you actually can't play that one. It's proactive. It gives you good team fighting. And we saw in that one just how good Eames was on it.
So there is an angle as well. Okay, the Irelia ban is very interesting, taking away Jarvan. Now, I think there's something they can do, and it's something I like personally a lot as a jungle pick. I would pick it on 3 here rather than the first and the second, and that's Poppy. I really, really like Poppy at the moment. I think she feels quite good. I think she's generally good into what a lot of these teams play or want to do as well. If they choose to take that rel as well, it kind of is a big deny for the rel. It feels really, really bad for Jarvan, I know, and it's very bad dueling wise as well. Yeah. And you can take early skirmishes around Scuttle in the jungle. Instead, we're going to see Lee Sin. Really interesting, big skill matchup as well. Yeah. So this is a skill check. I want to see how this Lee Sin performs, because that is a very, very interesting pick, and it's one of those that you don't really see executed well that often. I think it's very, very difficult. Even the best Lee Sin players can struggle to execute it in kind of organized play, just because it doesn't provide a ton of value. You have to play for it a lot, and into really good organized teams, they're never going to give you the window of opportunity. So interesting, and we're going to see a nice, safe, reactive pick.
Where did we hear that before in the last game? It was the Graves that we didn't like. I prefer the Lee Sin over the Graves.
For sure.
So Syndra, Orianna, we've seen how that matchup goes before. Can be pretty back and forth. A little bit favoured in terms of the Syndra, but you're still perfectly happy with the Orianna into this one. Renekton Aatrox, though. Now, that's a skill matchup if I've ever seen one. One can be super back and forth. You just have to be careful to use those dashes as the Renekton to avoid getting knocked up by the Aatrox. It's kind of a game of chicken. You don't want to use your abilities first. You don't want to use your dashes first, because whoever does can be in a bad position.
I think this is good. I think this is really good. I think Last is very, very good at Vayne.
I have a theory. I'm going to let you know afterwards, but...
Sure. I'm interested now. So we're going to see the center pick of a Pollination here will be the classic support. I wonder if now Ashe is off the board. Senna Seraphine is interesting as well. It's still playable. Definitely not as effective after the Seraphine nerfs, but it's still very much doable. It's something you don't see as much because it doesn't provide the same immediate effectiveness that other bot lane, like, you know, combos do. But yeah, I think Vayne is kind of interesting, and I think there's a build as well that I really like seeing at the moment, which is very much geared towards playing around a Q and kind of playing poke style, and it's just a lot of raw damage in team fights. And this is the ultimate Senna Seraphine counter. This is really good, and it's so... This is, if you don't hit, you literally lose the game, but if you hit, you win the game, and especially into this bot lane as well. It's crazy. So good. Give us your theory, Max.
Alright, the theory is that Ex Machina in the last game played with a lot of respect. Yeah? They looked at Pollination Nation, they'd just beaten Southampton and went, yeah, alright, let's give these guys some respect. And then they played that game, and all of the respect, they took it and... No more respect. So they decided that they can win this game with whatever picks they possibly could want. Because you don't pick Vayne Blitzcrank unless you think you're gonna win. Unless you think 100%. You are absolutely gonna win. Of course, this is a best of 3, so you're not in a situation where you have to win. If you lose this one, go back to standard, crush them again. That's going to be the thought process behind Ex Machina. Now, I wonder if that is a little bit cocky, because this composition is so feast or famine. Like you said, you don't hit the hook, you're screwed. If you don't end up hitting those Sonic Waves on the Lee Sin, you don't deal any damage either. This is a really feast or famine composition. Pollination Nation, though, it's not like they've drafted that standard either. Seraphine Senna as a bot lane, that's wild. You get caught by one hook and you're just dead.
It's interesting that they removed the Rel and the Nautilus, whereas I don't think the Rel is as bad as something like the Blitzcrank. I think it's really, really good to actually take this Blitz here. And I'm shocked it wasn't banned away, because in my head, when I'm thinking about this in draft, this is the #1 counter for this. I think the Nautilus is like good as well, obviously, but Blitzcrank it's safe, it works, and you don't really want to play Rel into this kind of lane either. I think Rel is pretty miserable into Seraphine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think also there's things to play for Ex Machina. There's the ball delivery service on Lee Sin. So like, yeah, it relies on Sonic Waves hitting, but even then you just like flash W, you proc the ult when you're Wing in onto like a ward, and it buffers out of like the range, and you've got like an 8 billion years away ult that you can just follow up from, and it's really, really nice. And I think Vayne is just good. I think Vayne is unironically just really, really strong right now, but it's kind of slept on in organized play. I think it's definitely, you have to have a little bit of ego to pick it, but it kind of goes crazy. So I'm excited.
Into this composition as well, Jarvan, Renekton, they are plenty tanky that you could deal a ridiculous amount of damage as the Vayne, and you have the setup potential in this composition. Like you said already, you've got that Orianna ball delivery system on the Aatrox or on the Lee Sin, whoever really wants to go flying in, but also just with the Blitzcrank and the Lee Sin themselves, you can kick people around, push them about, either to create space potentially for your Vayne, or to draw them in. Vayne, pretty short range, once you got you within her circle though, just can shred you down. I really like this Ex Machina composition, not in terms of just like great draft analysis, but in terms of just how much confidence you have to play it, and the way that I feel they're going to be able to execute it. I think this is a good enough team to be able to pull something like this out, but I want Pollination Nation to show us more. They had a good early 5 minutes. If they can play like that again, keep yourselves even, the scaling is pretty crazy out of their composition. It's much better, I'd say, than what Ex Machina have themselves. It's not like Ex Machina completely fall off, but you do just have more utility, more help from a lot of your champions. The only one that I would disagree with in the past would have been the Renekton. Renekton was a early game champion. However, in the last year, he's become the kind of champion that you just rely on to be a backline threat during team fights. Who cares that he's not going to be able to 100 to 0? As long as he's disrupting, stopping a Vayne from free hitting, he's doing his job.
And it's definitely interesting to see a champion like Renekton, who's been around for so long, kind of evolve and play style over time as well, on the way that teams pick him and, the safety behind all of that. And you mentioned about how Pollination definitely has a lot more scaling, and it feels like if they just delay and stall, it feels a little bit safer. But if there's any team that can probably do early execution, because we saw a lot more like safety and like unwillingness to really, go deep and go, fast and strong, like Ex Machina definitely feels a lot more confident now, and I think we'll see a lot more of an explosive early game. I don't think Pollination is going to get the opportunity to play safe at all.
Yeah, possibly not, as we'll be jumping on into the game pretty soon. I hate to do this to you, but do you think that Ex Machina are going to win this one and have a quick 2-0? Do you think Pollination Nation can pull it back?
So this is such an interesting point, actually. So the caster in me wants to see game 3. The player in me and wants to also see game 3, but like in my heart of hearts, I also really want this Vayne pick to go crazy, because I think it's always very exciting when Vayne is picked. Same with Lee Sin. Whether it will is a completely different story.
Yeah,
I think I have to put some respect on Ex Machina's name, though. I think it'll be a 2-0.
Yeah, Ex Machina, you have that kind of confidence to pick this composition for yourselves. That means you think you can win with basically whatever you pick up. I think Pollination Nation are going to be able to put up some kind of fight, but I would have to agree with you. I am thinking Ex Machina are going to be able to win this one. But yeah, agreed. I would like to be proven wrong.
So we should be jumping into game very, very shortly. Kicking off this match should be interesting to see how they actually play this early as well. Like, play aggressive. They've got the Blitzcrank as well. Definitely going to fish for something I would. Well, I say definitely. Okay, I was like, definitely with quotation marks, guys. I'm very good at my job, and I don't make calls that are incorrect ever, and I've never been wrong. So if this Blitzcrank doesn't walk forward, then it's not my fault, is all I'm going to say.
I mean, it's kind of, again, a game of chicken right here, where you know that the Blitzcrank wants to invade, but the Blitzcrank knows that you know that he wants to invade. So, do you walk forwards? It looks like the answer's going to be no, but you can always late invade. There's a pretty strong late invade right here. Potential out of Ex Machina if they want to go for that one. I wouldn't be opposed, to be fair. They can get aggressive. Instead, it looks like it's just going to be a straight-up 5-point stance for everybody. Head back to lane, potentially have a look into this bush, just see if you can find somebody, go fishing, drop a ward, and yeah, nothing too exciting is going to happen. It is going to be a bot side start for Woodsole, whereas Degistar going to be signed towards the top lane and pushing his way down, potentially looking for a gank onto this Vayne, shut her down early and stop her from getting ahead.
So it's really interesting how both junglers have kind of like different ways they want to play this. I think getting Timotopper ahead on this Aatrox is really, really important for the side of Ex Machina. There's a lot of reliance on this bot lane to kind of outplay. They know that there's not going to be any crazy engages from Xenophine here. It's not a particularly exciting lane with a lot of opportunity. It's kind of just annoying. I don't think you ever want to like go for it either. It's pretty safe. You've got, the mist to keep you safe. You've got like Seraphine's disengage with a W as well. Some nice CC from both sides that very easy to chain into each other. Pretty safe farming. And they will probably, just because of the nature of the lane, hit the level advantage first, but it does not matter. Last immediately hits level 2, going straight for it. Tumble, not quite the third Silver Bolts proc. I think they actually take a pretty bad trade here. Mango Pango taken low, but not really getting any damage down onto the Seraphine. Will walk away, but this is kind of what we expect the longsword for, is just taking a really aggressive early trade, healing back up with the triple pots, ends up having the biscuits as well, but a good reaction here in the mid lane. Degi style looking for something, should have to burn the splash for Eden, but Eames is around on the Lee Sin, ready to re-engage. Nice scatter the weak, saving it for that counter gank for the Lee Sin. Will not be able to find anything, and just kind of a bit of a wet noodle fight around the map so far.
Yeah, nothing really happening. Once again, we're going to have a relatively nearly explosive early game, but where things actually fizzle out, nothing happens. for the most part, and then we're probably going to see the exact same thing where we're going to get some skirmishes and things will get explosive all of a sudden. Bot lane, having already lost your Ghost and your Ignite is pretty bad. Eden, no mana, just trying to push this one in, does finally manage to do so, is going to be able to reset. Bot lane, the lack of flash or barrier on Mango Pango, though, is going to leave them super vulnerable. Neuroskulls also has not got the flash, so not even got that to help out his AD carry. But this bot lane could get pretty explosive. Junglers aren't in the area for the minute, though, so not going to have that assistance. That being said, Digistale is going to be going for this bot lane. Scuttle Crab could try for a gank. There isn't really any vision, so we'll be able to get into this bush relatively easily, but it looks like the bot lane is just going to be taking a reset, and so this stalemate of an early game continues.
Now, it's kind of good that we're seeing, for Pollination anyways, that we're seeing a repeat of what we were getting in that first game in the initial 4 minutes. I don't think there's going to be anything particularly crazy happening regardless, just because of the nature of, you know, this play and how good these players are. But playing it nice and slow is what they want. They want to be able to kind of, you know, take it cool, calm, relaxed, have the opportunity to scale. And the fact that even though the Blitzcrank got that pick earlier on the Senna, I believe it was, the fact that she lives there and there's no advantage that puts last forward a significant amount feels definitely really, really good.
If you can get Lasp into a position where he can carry right now, that would be huge. You know, that's the ideal. That's the dream. This is a huge wave top lane that Marco really needs to thin out if he doesn't want to have just a massive crash go down, but he's going to pay for thinning out that wave with a lot of his life. I would be surprised if Timotopia wanted to go for a dive right now. It would be really risky, but still, you can see for a second matchup in a row, Timotopia is using this Aatrox to great effect and just trying to do his best to make Marco's life hell.
This is nice, by the way. I assume they've moved the Jarvan to the middle bush now. They're playing stupid. I don't think they're going to expect them in there. Still disguised with the mist as well. The Lee Sin jumps in. Drippy Darren will fall. First blood over to the center. A quick disengage from X Machina. And a really, really nice bait.
Pollination Nation. Quick. I like it. It was such a good bait. You know, sat there like, oh, looky me. I'm so quite out of position, psych. You just got yourself that great Jarvan in the bush. I love that. That is a really well executed play, and that's the kind of thing that you can use to get yourself an advantage versus a potentially superior team. It's going to turn straight into a Drake as well, and this early game has actually gone well in the favor of Plantation Nation Manchester. I'm liking this.
It's an interesting one. We are seeing World Ender pops here. Timotopia trying to make advantage of the fact they have this early level, but we are going to see Dominus as a quick response. I don't think Marco can actually win this trade, though. We'll have to pop it and disengage. I think they saw the vision there. However, not going to quite turn out how they wanted. Infernal Chains will keep them in a really scary spot. The passive not quite enough to finish them off. Ends up giving opportunity to burn the flash, and that really should have been a kill. I think either that Q was on cooldown or it's a very ego of Timotopia to let him walk out there for free. Not for free. Flash was burnt.
Flash was burned. Don't want to go over aggressive. You don't potentially know where Digistale is. The counter jungle there could have been devastating had he been in the area. I can understand backing off of that one, not looking to lose out on any of the advantage accrued so far. CS leads right now, nothing really to write home about. Everything is relatively even. The only thing is there's a decent one because the Lee Sin has not been ganking quite as much as the Jarvan. That's to be expected though. Jarvan is one of the highest ganking junglers that we have in the game. Lee Sin obviously does like a gank too, but not quite as much as the Jarvan. And so 7 minutes in, gold pretty much dead even, and despite the fact we've had a little bit more explosivity in this early game, it's ended up in basically the same situation we had last time, where those leads have not really amounted to anything so far.
So it's interesting as well, we see the first blood go on to this Senna. We talk about how it's fairly even in gold, but Senna's soul value on top of this first blood will be really nice. I'd be interested in seeing roughly what souls Senna is sat at, but I will get back to that as we are seeing some trades down in the mid lane. I don't think it's going to be anything quite yet, although we do see the command shockwave burn. I think it's command shockwave. Yeah, command shockwave. I'm right.
Here.
Oh, this should be a quick follow-up. The flag and drag is available.
Flash
not
is
quite.
available though.
yeah, ends up like, I don't think they wanted to use it because they kind of expected Eden to have that flash available. It's a real shame about no Cataclysm there. Not quite close enough to soak up a wave either, or any last minions just to try and get to that level 6. And it could have led to a kill. I like the vision there from Eden as well. Very aggressive playstyle. Flash is available for Sleepy mid. I don't think they have enough mana to make anything exciting happen, unfortunately. And Eden will feel confident enough to shove this lane out versus this. I think it's a bit ego to stay versus this Jarvan. Just red though, Eames giving enough vision there. Sat on a ward, really nice encore catch there. And the kill goes over to Deggy Style, not able to be traded out in the mid lane. Sleepy mid just dodging away from that ball there.
Deggy Style should be very happy with that one. Narrow Skulls, huge, just brilliant encore, picking themselves up that kill. And this is a much better game right now out of Plantation Nation, and you have to wonder if Ex Machina got a little bit too cocky, you know. They knew that they were better individual players and have decided to pull out all the stops in this game, pick themselves a really interesting composition. Timatopa going to be chased onto. Deggy Style's been ganking everywhere.
This guy is like non-stop. Is he having time to farm? And somehow actually does have time to farm. Because they actually they are applying so much pressure around the map that Eames does not have the opportunity to actually go for anything. Had the Cataclysm available, but obviously Timothopa with the dash has the ability to get out of that quite nice and easy, and that's kind of funny. The little emote pop there, little BM. Infernal Chains yanking them back, but actually that's kind of good. It means that Jarvan will clear slower, will not actually pick up and read this Herald take, although Sleepy Mid is walking, is scouting, will observe, and Deggy Style should drop what they're doing and move over. It is 2.5k, and I wonder if Ex Machina will commit to this, just waiting for the Aatrox to rotate down. 1600 health and a nice quick pop of the eye, the smite that I picked up. And yeah, I unironically think that Infernal Chains might have made a difference there. That's crazy.
Yeah. Damn. I was not... I was so ready for a kill in that situation. And then
we were just like, it's not quite. Like,
not
I don't know.
Quite.
Both teams are kind of scared. Like, they're both like, anxious. You saw Ex Machina like willing to back off of that Herald. They were actually like, yeah, we don't want to fight at all here when that Syndra started walking up. I think if Deggy Style had shown, they might have actually left completely.
Yeah, they were not
they might have
interested
hunted,
in a fight in that situation, and I am expecting things to hang on. Sleepy Mid gonna have to flash away. Does survive. Deggy Style is here.
Cataclysm popped. Actually, we are going to see the ult not quite taken down, but the minion last hit takes Eames out of the game, and that's a quick pick there for the Syndra. Deggy Style hunting for more, helping shove out this wave. Does not want to give Eden any opportunities to play relatively safe here. No ult available, and Sleepy Mid just doing a little bit of poke damage, some stacks down, but yeah, I'm kind of shocked that killed. I thought that Cataclysm was a little bit preemptive, but more than enough burst damage here. I think showing how strong Syndra is right now.
I mean, it's a Lost Chapter and a Blasting Wand. So there is sneaky amounts of damage. Obviously, you're waiting. It's just going to miss. You're waiting for that fully completed item before you can really get involved. And last, tumbles forwards and just gets burned down. Again, Lost Chapter on the Seraphine, sneaky amount of damage. Senna, like you said, with that gold advantage from the first blood.
43 stacks.
Hang on, over the wall, over the wall.
Do they know? Do they know what they're cooking? The hook will find the Seraphine through the mist. Ends up getting a nice kill in last pocket. Eden is hunting for more. Has no ultimate, but you are stuck in alcove here. The Dawning Shadow will keep them alive just a little bit longer, but double TP down here. Everyone is here, ready to fight, looking for a trade here. Marco is going to catch Eden down in the pit, and this will be a nice kill trade coming through.
Eden just buying a little bit of extra time. Double teleport is a huge investment. That is a big wage that Timatopa is pushing in towards this top side of the map. Going to pick himself up a ton of turret plates too. Of course, you do manage to turn this one as Manchester into another Drake as well. And that was a great response, but still, good plays back and forth. Drippy Jaren with the flash hook that manages to land, picking up a kill onto Narrow Skulls. You give over 3 or so turret plates in the top lane and a massive wave. Oh, if this Aatrox manages to carry the game, then that will be why. Still though, I think you take that as a positive trade.
Now, I mean, this is interesting as well, because we did talk about how we expected Ex Machina to play this early game a little bit better just from how they were. But they've actually had a little bit less wiggle room than I thought, just from this initial kill getting picked up by the Senna. I thought the initial TP was a mistake. I did not realize it was a double, and I didn't see where Degistar actually was on the map, but we are going to see a big collapse here coming through. The Encore not going to quite extend off of Degistar there, will not catch.
Oh, hang on.
Cataclysm gets burned, but also has a flash in return. Lee Sin actually not having the faith to stay around and help their teammate. Eden shall just walk out for free.
Yeah, you're going to be able to get away. Eden's flash is blown, and this is just a flash that is blown on repeat. You are not allowed to have your flash up right now as Eden. It's really effective gameplay out of Manchester. Top lane getting really aggressive. Timotopia going to have to pop that World Ender in order to just run away. That's a big cooldown.
You're not going to see some immediate action taken through the mid lane there. I don't know quite what happened, but Orianna will get that shutdown. Mango Pango ends up getting that kill. Won't even die, I think. Drippy Darren cannot finish them off. Just a Blitzcrank, not with enough damage. Deggy style actually coming and taking them pretty low, but she won't have the damage to actually take them out of the game.
No, this is, again, lots of people running away on just a little bit of HP. Mid laner for mid laner trades right now. And as CP mid, you've got to be pretty happy with that one. Herald going to be dropped, though, into the mid lane. Now, you are surrounded by multiple members. You're going to get a charge off and a couple of turret plates, but not a full turret, not a first turret blood. Still, extra gold.
Wait, Last just got a kill.
Inner, just straight 1v1.
Interesting.
I mean,
Seraphine, yeah, I was gonna say it's a Vayne versus a Seraphine.
Okay, but it is a Leandru Seraphine. Like, she kind of hurts. Oh,
what?
Whoa,
Oh, the Dawning
Mango.
Shadow from downtown. Hello.
Mango, that was huge. Really nice Dawning Shadow to be able to pick up that kill. And at this point, the game's getting just a little bit out of hand right now for Ex Machina. They're feeling confident, pick themselves a really aggressive composition, something you want to get going in the early game, and it just hasn't quite worked out. Buzzito especially has got that Gore Drinker completed, so will do a decent amount of damage, but you're not ever going to be as useful as a Jarvan during the team fights, not if you don't get yourself massively far ahead. And the early game is waning away. We're getting into that mid game right now where you're looking for big skirmishes, the point at which a Jarvan really can shine with that Cataclysm.
Yeah, so, oh wow, okay, I was about to comment on the hook in the bush. I didn't think they'd straight up face check it. I mean, shutdown goes onto the Lee Sin. It's a nice pickup there. Doesn't go onto a crazy carry. I don't think Lee Sin's going to be doing a ton of damage, and I don't think it's going to convert that crazily. There's no objectives to play for in the bot side. I don't think they can also look for a Herald, but it's just a nice pick to get there, and some strength of the Blitzcrank that we can see that might actually convert into this late game, but there's so much happening right now. The Cataclysm will actually end up catching them. The TP might be a little bit preemptive. Timotopper might actually get caught out here. Has to burn the World Ender, but Marco has walked. Dragon's Fury also keeping them away. Quick disengage. I think that's kind of really bad for Ex Machina to lose that TP here. The gold is even, but it does not feel that even right now.
Hey, you lose that on the TP, you don't manage to save Eden, no flash up means that Eden is just going to die. That has been the way of this game so far. You've got that next Rift Herald spawning in just about, just now, and straight onto it goes everybody from Manchester. They're going to be able to pick this one up, potentially uncontested. It would be really aggressive of the Lee Sin to go try to get in right now. Sat on full vision, just going to show that he's here. Sleepy mid, sending out a Scatter the Weak, still hovering around though is Buzzito.
I don't think we'll be able to find anything. I just don't, I was going to say, we don't see any quick engage. I think it's a bit too risky to look for a Smite steal. Ends up picking it up quite nicely, and this should help the side of Pollination Nation actually advance their lead somewhat.
And just keep this pressure up. Despite the fact that they have got the majority of the kills, the objectives, all of that, they're only up by, what is that, about 200 gold, and that is mainly coming through the fact that there's a huge CS lead in the top lane, a little bit of one in the jungle, and that's just, it's huge. It's a huge gap in the CS. Last is also in a pretty strong position, not to say that Mango Pango isn't. Both of these AD carries have managed to pick themselves up decent early games, and if they can keep that up, I could see Lash just trying his absolute best on this Vayne. And we've seen Vayne's carry, it's not impossible, but also the Vayne effect does sometimes happen. Vayne's feeling herself a little bit too much, tumbles forwards and immediately dies. So you're going to have to be careful. Stormrazor completed, though, in a pretty strong position.
Yeah, as well, and not to mention, I don't think Vayne really has the wiggle room to actually perform like that as well. The Syndra is pretty devastating. Marco also nice access, the invis will only save you for so long. Obviously so much poke before you can even get in a fight from Senna and Seraphine, and the Jarvan just direct access onto the Vayne. It's gonna feel pretty bad to 1v9 carry a little bit into this game. And that's kind of like on Eden as well, to try and find some picks and alleviate a bit of pressure so that Last has a little bit more wiggle room on this Vayne here. We are going to see the Drake start up. I wonder, okay, so Marco does have the TP available, fair enough. We are going to see that popped away.
There it is.
Drake taken down to 3k now, looking for the steal. Deggy style kind of just dancing around. Will leave it to 53 HP. Timotop actually able to dive onto 2, actually finds the 2. Lots of raw damage here. And we're going to see Marco try and dive in and find something else. But
this is huge. This is
insane
huge
from Timotopper. Incredible quadra kill.
Quadra.
Insane. Absolutely ridiculous.
And
What
that
a play.
changes this entire series because it was looking so good right there. Everybody on Manchester was feeling themselves, getting kills, playing effectively, and then Timotopper into the back line, and he just goes. No TP, had to just walk down for that play. You're going to turn this into a Drake as well as a mid lane outer turret, opening up so much extra space on the map. Everything that Ex Machina had not had for themselves, they managed to get in that team fight, and the gold that's going to be injected into this Aatrox. I mean, look at the items. You've now got 2 completed items, Edge of Night and that Dustblade. This guy is going to be hurting so much, and he already did so well for himself in that previous team fight.
So if we look at like the gold differential here now, that is incredible, and eclipsing almost 3k gold lead here in the top lane. Timotopper has so much effectiveness now, and going this lethality build as well will be able to absolutely snowball this pressure. And even then, if we look at like elsewhere in the map, it is just a nice little lead in the bot lane for Last. Can do more now, has a lot more room to work with, is definitely more of a threat. And yeah, sure, there's not the same leads in the mid lane, but you're facilitating mid now. This Orianna is not to be played as, you know, that hyper carry, you know, the exploding your backline kind of thing you'd expect from a large lead. But now you've got the, you know, the Aatrox that can speed in there. You kind of play around them. Same with your some of your Vayne. It doesn't really need to be that ahead when the gold is just ridiculous elsewhere in the map.
Yeah, you can just be that level of consistent damage, because the burst damage can come from something like the Aatrox, can come from your Orianna, or maybe even your Lee Sin. You don't have to be that as potential collapse right now. Can you kill Timotopper in a 3v1?
I don't think he can. I does not have the flash of it. Was that okay? No, he didn't flash. He just flagged and dragged and placed the Herald. I was so confused there. Sorry. I assume they went to like look for the Cataclysm. Was not quite in range. Tries to get down this tower. Will not find it, and will not find Timotopper either. Sure, World Ender is burnt, but it's on a fairly short cooldown with this lethality build. It won't feel too bad, and should have it up before any next major team fight. I don't think they'll be able to find anything for the side of Pollination to actually, you know, profit off of removing that cooldown.
Yeah, no, just gonna be able to get that one back relatively quickly.
And Sleepy Mid should be taken out by just a nice kick into the Sonic Wave. A lot of burst damage here from the Lee Sin, surprisingly, actually, coming off now. And it kind of feels bad to be in the position of Sleepy Mid there, just being caught out, walked on, and there's not really many spaces that you can walk safely with this amount of vision control from the side of Ex Machina in this jungle. And it's really just a stark change in the game. Like, I did not think it would, like, you know, snowball that quickly. But one team fight completely changes the like way this game is played, and now they're on the back foot, and I wonder if they'll even have the time to scale into this now.
Across the course of 15, 16, 17 minutes of really good, clean gameplay out of Pollination Nation, hang on, Last is going to be jumped right on top of, does have the flash, is happy to just sit in this and fight it. Oh my god.
And we are going to see the Encore just go wide. Double TP coming through on the flag, and Timotopper is just zoning people away from the team fight. Immediate TP, and you see Sleepy Mid just send it out of there. Will not have any meaningful damage go through onto this Aatrox before this fight. Can look to siege mid turret, and won't really be able to, like... Oh my god, what a ridiculous Blitzcrank hook. Absolutely insane. And if there was any form of...
Oh, the kick as well.
A nice insect from Eames, and I was about to say if there was any like way that Pollination was going to come back into this game during that fight, it had vanished, and then he did that. So I guess there's extra, you know, extra to what I was going to say.
Yeah. What I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by 3 brilliant plays is that despite a brilliant early game out of Pollination Nation, the best they were able to accrue was about a 2,500 gold lead. The millisecond that Ex Machina managed to get themselves a bit of a lead, it balloons. At this point, they are up by just a huge amount of gold, 1,000. These guys know how to get leads, and once they do, they know how to just take them and run with it, and with some fancy plays on top of it, some brilliant hooks, some insects, beautiful, and a Vayne who knows their limits. What is this game? Ex Machina are looking really strong. They want to roll through Pollination Nation and keep on going and make it to those finals.
And it's interesting as well, like, even if Pollination doesn't come out of this, what this game sets for Ex Machina and the way that teams should look at Ex Machina is that this is a terrifying force. It does not matter how far ahead you think you've gone in these games. It does not matter at all how confident you're feeling coming into a series. This team will, they will demolish you. They will dismantle you. They will find your weakness. They will exploit it and they will execute you. This has been incredibly played and a great comeback for Ex Machina here. And we are going to see a continuous fight. Timotopper immediately popping the World Ender. Not going to be able to actually escape. An insane in-second to pull combo. Timotopper not going to be able to be stopped as well. Rooted down. Will not be able to find anything else. But in the meantime, Last is just pushing away at this mid tower with this Baron Wave. Should be able to find this turret. Eden is just shadowing to make sure that nothing is, there's nothing taken out of order here. No Vayne picked off. And just, I'm aghast. The incredible execution of combos here coming through. And this Lee Sin, we commented in draft about being a champion that's very, very hard to execute and like play around. And you have to be incredibly high skill cap and it's hard to do in, organized play. It does not matter. It does not matter. Absolutely insane. What a ridiculous play.
Really impressive players. Out of most of the members right now of Ex Machina, actually all of them have shown up big in this game. Eden's the only one who's felt a little bit quiet, and that's despite the fact that they have just been chased constantly, now looking to kill onto Marco. They're not going to go down, managed to turn that one around. Mangapango,
just going to go wide on that hook. And
he's been so good. He's been so good, we can allow that one to slide.
I was going to say, this Blitzcrank is literally like burger flipping. Blitzcrank is always burger flip games, right? But this one has been, it was kind of useless until it wasn't, and then it was the most useful pick in the game.
And that's the way of the Blitzcrank. If you miss hooks, this champion feels terrible. What can you do? Waddle up to them and punch them once for a knockup? Like, that doesn't feel good. But if you can use those hooks effectively, especially that flash hook in the bot lane, despite the fact it did turn into, what was it, like a 2-for-1 or whatever it was just such a big dominant play, and it felt like it gave a lot of confidence to Drippy Darren to find more of those big hooks and to just keep it up. All of the turrets outside of the base have now been cracked for Ex Machina. They're just going to keep this pressure up. Next Baron not for another 3 minutes. Same thing with the Drake. So right now you either have to just keep pushing these waves in and try to look for a fight, or just bide your time, wait until the Baron and the Drake spawn, and see if you can use that to bait the members of Manchester out of their base, because for the minute they really should not be stepping up. Of course, you don't necessarily have to step up of your own volition. If there's a Blitzcrank over the wall, grabs you with the rocket grab, then you end up in the backline whether you want to be there or not.
100%. And I guess there's an advantage to these waves pushing in, right? You can just kind of, I wouldn't say farm up safely on the center in this Seraphine, but it's not really safe, is it? When you have a Blitzcrank there ready to take you out of this game, Timotopper diving onto your backline, Vegistar not finding the angle they wanted to find. These Wombo ultimates taken in this small choke point will not really matter. They are just raw outpowered on gold here, and this Aatrox is absolutely lethal. This team is also incredible follow-up, and it's just so hard to play any fight, no matter how good it might look.
This fight once again gonna go badly, and at this point Timotopper, who by the way is absolutely my game MVP for that 1v4 masterclass around that Drake pit, that was really the turning point. You managed to pick yourself up a quadra kill and just brilliant play. I've been very impressed. They're going to be sieging onto the base. Some of these turrets now already been broken. Mid lane inhibitor should be falling right now. The Vayne dealing more than enough damage to this one. And then you've got Timotopper ushering in a wave in the top side. Sleepy mid gonna have to back off from this one unless they want to sacrifice their life alongside the turrets.
I think this is a bit ego. There's no wave here. Look at... Oh, never mind. Eden gets a kill. Drippy Darren is going to be the sacrificial lamb here. Timotopper walks away after tanking away 3 tower hits. It just kind of feels like Ex Machina is being a little bit silly goofy right now. They don't really find... They probably could end if they were given the opportunity to do so, and I think there's plenty of them to take here, but what they are going to do instead is probably play for this Baron, force them to make a choice here on the side of Pollination to actually, fight them on Baron or give up a Drake objective. Obviously, they're going to try and look for Baron because this game just ends when Ex Machina gets it. But Timotopper is on a quarter of health. Oh, okay, never mind. He's not on a core of health. He's got more. I apologize.
Oh my lord.
That is a ridiculous amount of damage output here. Marco sprinting away. That is one terrified crocodile. Will not actually be able to get found.
You don't
However,
win this.
Egisol is just sending it.
You don't win this.
I kind of respect it. You got to respect the delusion a little bit, surely. You know what? An A+ for effort.
Yeah.
You get that from me. A+.
Hey, I agree with that. This game, the early game was really clean. It was a well-executed early game out of Plantation Nation. Unfortunately, Exeter are just better. Like, that is the beginning and end of it. In this series specifically, Exeter are just better. Of course, as we go further into the tournament, there are going to be other teams to be able to step up, potentially, and challenge them. But right now, they are mounting an absolute challenge for that title. This game, at least, feels as good as done. We'll see if you can get back into this one. Eden is going to be able to get away. And, oh, he got
Nice
bullied so
little
badly
shockwave.
in the early game. Oh, Sleepy
I think
Mid's
they
here.
just want
But
to
the
find
base,
a kill. They just want to
the
find
base.
a kill, right? Yeah, I mean, like, oh yeah, we're gonna lose this game, but we will kill your mid laner, right? Like, yeah, fair enough. If that if that helps them sleep at night, then sure, great pick there. However, your base is being cracked open. Vayne is just casually doing Drake, I guess.
Why not?
Fair enough. Like,
I mean, it's
yeah,
a third Infernal
why not?
Drake.
I
I would
mean-
like a third Infernal Drake. That seems pretty good. You've also got
Why not end the
inhibitors cracked.
game?
Because why do that? It's less fun. Go get Baron and then walk it in. I think that's
I'm befuddled. Sorry, I understand what Exeter are doing. I understand they're having a cheeky little bit of fun with it, and it's
a
pretty.
slow and controlled game. You pick up Baron to make sure that there's no risk. Timatopa is going to completely destroy the risk argument as he goes flying in amongst 4 members.
This guy does not care. This guy actually does not care. He's going in. He's not going to pop the world ender. We do see Deggy Style get sent across about a quarter of the map there with the flag and drag with the condemn. Now, yeah, I guess they just take Baron and they just go win. I would be shocked if they don't end immediately after getting this Baron. At that point, I think it's just rude. But yeah, I think, again, this sets an example, as I said earlier, and I think maybe Ex Machina are kind of just advancing it. They're trying to be like, yeah, we'll do this to everyone. We'll do this to all of you. We'll do this to every single team in this tournament. And it is making a group of very good players look very, very silly, because at the end of the day, Manchester's a very good team, but Ex Machina just apparently is better. So it feels kind of bad to be not Ex Machina right now. And oh my goodness, that is a lot of damage from just Orianna, by the way. That was just
personal.
the ball. Yeah,
Eden
I think
got
that was revenge.
just dogged on during the early stages of the game. That was who Manchester identified as somebody who you could gank onto. As soon as Orianna has no flash, she's very vulnerable, and that felt personal. Now we're going to see potentially the last stand right here out of Manchester. Can they send us to a game 3? They'd have to do something now.
Okay, we are just being an absolute monstrous obliteration here from the side of Ex Machina. It does not matter how many ults we are seeing thrown by Pollination. They are terrified. They are running for the hills. Timotopper will not die, does not even get close. Infernal Chains pulling Nereus back into last, cannot finish anyone off. They are cowering in their base. The rocket grab will not find anyone, and there is 3 Baron empowered minion waves ready to take out your base. Last is taken down. Eden might also fall, but it won't be enough to stop the absolute onslaught of minions here, and that should be a really strong, convincing 2-0 for the side of Exeter. Really, really well played.
Yeah, congratulations to Exeter. There is a potential in there for other opponents to try to exploit that early game. Both of the early games actually were relatively even for a while and then were explosive. The first one went explosive in the favor of Exeter, but the second one actually, that was a relatively long period of time where it was looking like Manchester might be able to win that game. Those damage stats, the Orianna did 31,000 damage.
It's definitely interesting. It felt like the Orianna didn't I wouldn't know. It definitely did things that game. It was strong, but you know, it's kind of like the classic mid lane experience of getting dogged on because you just happen to be the easiest lane to gank. However, it appears that Eden is very, very used to this and is very, very used to being on the back foot, very strong at taking, like, you know, these trades in mid. I'd argue Sleepy Mid probably the best player on the other team as well, and it still looked like a bit of a differential. So it's really, really interesting to see how it's been played around, and even at this disadvantage, Eden looked very, very strong during these games. And I am interested for next week. That's what I really want to see. I want to see what the other side of the bracket has to say about this, whether or not they actually can show up and make Exeter and give Exeter a real challenge, because right now it doesn't feel like they're even sweating.
No, that game felt far, far too easy. Once they got rolling, it felt like there was no stopping that train. Just a well-executed and impressive victory out of Exeter. The way that they team fight is excellent, but also some individual pop-off performances. The quadra kill was huge. Some of those hooks were brilliant. The insects, so many insects that we got to watch. I loved watching Exeter play, and I can't wait to get to see more of them.
For sure. Now, whether or not they pick Lee Sin up in another game, I'm not too sure about that one. But you know, I kind of like seeing these not unusual picks, but these ego picks, these strong picks that you don't really see from people who don't feel as confident. I think we should be jumping into an interview kind of soon-ish with the mid laner of Ex Machina, Akronos or Eden, someone who definitely, again, showed up, kind of diffed a little bit, even at a disadvantage, and what they have to say about the overall team and how they feel coming into these next set of games. Make sure you stay tuned after this break, where we'll be having an exclusive interview.
I don't wanna fall for you, oh no. But you make it so hard. Watching you dance all night, baby, is making me fall hard. Trying to take a deep breath, but I just can't control my lungs. Ooh. Trying to hide my cold sweat, but I just keep on talking in tongues. It's a funny situation that I got myself into. I can help my own frustration. Cause I think, yeah, I think I like it. I think I like it. Got nothing to lose. Cause I think I like it. Tell me if you like me too. How can you move the way you do? It's making me crazy, yeah. You're moving just like you own the room. Make it look easy. I wanna take you away to somewhere we can be by ourselves. I see you looking my way, so maybe it's not all in my head. It's a funny situation that I got myself into. I can help my own frustration. Cause I think, yeah, I think I like it. I think I like it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the University Esports League of Legends Winter 2023 prize playoffs. We are now with the wonderful mid laner of Exeter, ex Machina, Eden, for a quick winners interview. How are you feeling about those games? Do you enjoy getting camped mid lane? Is this something you're used to at this level of play?
It's a wonderful experience, other than the first, 10 or so minutes of the second game. Other than that was really fun. But yeah, that's probably the next best mid laner I've played against in Yule, so it's more fun than the other matchups.
Fair enough. I mean, in that first game, you seemed to have a really good time of it. Were you a little bit worried? Was the team a little bit worried in that second game where things seemed to be going just a little bit wrong? Some of your plays weren't working. You specifically, like Max said, was getting camped quite a lot. Was there some worry, or did you know that you had it and you could pull it back?
I mean, I think we definitely thought it was possible to win the whole time. It was mainly that dragon fight where they walked up, both their carries got shockwaved with Aatrox on a flank that made it feel like we were once again in the lead after that, probably. But up until that point, it was definitely, slightly worried that could actually lose the game, yeah.
So you mentioned about Sleepy Mid being the second best mid laner you've played against throughout this tournament. Tell me about how you feel about the other teams in the bracket. Have you done much scouting on them? Do you fancy their chances against you?
I'm not gonna lie, we have not done much scouting, no. We normally just make the OPGG when we get in lobby and try and find 3 champs which are worth banning. So I personally don't think that highly of the other teams as teams, but there's certainly some good individual players spread across the rosters.
Do you have any examples of those individual players that you could tell us just quickly?
Well, I think Sleepy Mid laned, pretty evenly with me on both sides. Other than that, none immediately come to mind, other than obviously Maru is probably the best jungler in the tournament by far. I'm a big fan of Maru. I think this guy's really, really good.
Well, it's nice to hear you actually talk highly of someone. So I'm very excited to see your road further along this tournament. And do you reckon that, you'll be able to bring it home? How's it feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably be pretty comfortable to at least be favourites to win it. I mean, with our coach Nidge we've got a really good draft theory as well behind our play. He pioneers adaptive tempo traps, and so I think that if we keep properly learning how to use those, and especially if we integrate reverse tempo traps into our game as well, then I think we'll definitely be the favourites to win, yeah.
Very nice.
Love it. Any final shout-outs that you want to put through to anybody who's watching you right now, your teammates?
I think a special shout-out to my support for being the mental foundation of the team. Driffy Darren, Evan down there in the bot lane is very good. It's one of the main differences in this team, that now when we get behind, we have Evan to keep us not tilted.
Very, very nice. And obviously, just great blitzcrank, really, really fun to watch.
No, he's
what
amazing.
A pick, right?
Yeah,
crazy. Thank you for your time, Eden. Really, really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to see how you guys get on later on. So I think that should be it for today. A nice 2-0 gets us starting on the University Esports broadcast this week, and we should be jumping into about the same time next week with another set of games. Make sure you're around, same time, same place. I want to see you here. Me and Black Blocks will be here. So this has been a great pleasure to cast this. Make sure you're around for the next University Esports League of Legends Winter 2023 prize playoffs.
You make it so hard. Watching you dance all night, baby, is making me fall hard. Trying to take a deep breath, but I just can't control my lungs. Ooh. Trying to hide my cold sweat, but I just keep on talking in tongues. It's a funny situation that I got myself into. I can help my own frustration. wanna take you away to somewhere we can be by ourselves. I see you looking my way, so maybe it's not all in my head. It's a funny situation that I got myself into. I can't help my own frustration, 'cause I think I like it.